Last month, we planted our winter sowing seeds. The ones that need winter stratified, the ones that need the cold, like my lavender, my black-eyed Susans, and the milkweed, and as you can see, I have so many varieties here. And here they are, my black-eyed Susans, lavender, milkweeds. Yes, these were planted in January in Indiana in the snow because they needed to go through a process that they would have naturally done. These are my native wildflowers, my comfrey, my English lavender. And you basically don't do much of anything. You just let them sit, let the moisture from rain and snow take care of what needs taken care of. But now it's February and there's still things that we can do. So we're gonna head inside and get started on our February seeds. Before I can get started with my onion seeds, I've got to whip up 8 cups of cocoa coir, 4 cups of worm castings, and 4 cups of rice hulls. I don't buy the bag stuff anymore. I make my own peat-free mix because I've stepped away from any kind of chemical foods or chemical ways. And that starts with what goes into my soil. It is basically nutrition, aeration, and the cocoa coir is to hold the moisture. Just simple, real ingredients. When you mix your own soil, you're taking control of your food from the very first scoop. And honestly, this is one of the most empowering parts of gardening. You're not relying on whatever company decided to put in a plastic bag. You're building your own system, your own foundation, your own security. I always say planting vegetables is planting money. Every tray you start right now is food you don't have to buy later. And onions, they're one of the best returns on investment you can grow. Do you know that store-bought onions are months old before you ever see them? They've been stored and they've been shipped and handled and rotated through warehouses. They're bred to survive trucking, not to taste good, and definitely not to nourish you. So when you grow your own, you're planting money, you're planting freshness, and you're planting freedom. You're saying, I can do this myself, and that is powerful. Now this is a recipe for my seed starting, but you can also use it for your container plants as well. Now what I'm going to be planting are the Brunswick onions. They're untreated and non-GMO. No, they're not heirloom. I am using up seeds that I had from last year, and then I am moving more towards heirlooms. And that's the thing. You don't have to be perfect to start. You just have to start. Every season, you get a little closer to the garden you want, the food you want, and the life you want. And then I'm just going to sow them on top. And then we're going to put a little bit more mix over top of them. I want to know what went into my soil, what went into my plant, and what ends up on my plate. I want real food that hasn't been sprayed or stored or shipped across the country. And here's the truth. The more you grow, the less you depend on big systems to feed you. You're not waiting on supply chains. You're not hoping the store has what you need. You're not relying on somebody else and what their idea of what fresh means. We're not buying fresh. It's not fresh. You're building your own system, your own security, your own peace of mind, and it starts with something as simple as a tray of onions. So for $1.99, you can start your own food and have so many more onions for $1.99 versus going and buying them at the store. Anyway, onions are slow growers, so February is the perfect time to start them indoors. And I sow them thick because I trim them as they grow. They don't mind being crowded early on. They're tougher than people think. So just a light covering over the soil, nothing fancy. They don't need fertilizer at this stage. Just a good peat-free mix and steady moisture. Damp, not soaked. You can drown onions and they will rot. They like consistency. Then these will go under the lights or in the brightest window you've got. They'll look like little green hairs at first. Totally normal. And here's the bigger picture. When you grow your own onions, you're growing independence. You're growing confidence. You're growing clean food. You're proving to yourself that you don't have to rely on big systems to feed your family. You don't have to settle for old produce, chemical produce, or expensive produce. Educate yourself. Find out what exactly is on even the food that you think is clean and good. You can take control. You can build something real right where you're at. And once you start, you don't even want to go back because you realize just how capable you are and what the difference in the food tastes like. So this is not the only thing that we can plant right now. Go to almanac.com and Look, put in your address, find out what zone you're in, and look what you can start right now. I don't care if you're in an apartment, start in a bucket, start in a little container, start with whatever you have, and just go from there, because you can do it.